hesitant to use a word like love in a professional context, but there's a lot of love. Sibongile, there's a lot of love. You're going to admit, yeah, there's a lot of love. Okay, so the first person I would like to call upon is Martine Dabrego, who is, I know, a mentor and co-conspirator of Nicolette's of some time now. Over to you, Martine.
Okay, thank you. I'm so glad to be able to be here. You know, it's such a privilege to be part of this celebration. But I guess this is the moment where we shift gears, right? We spent 4 hours talking about philanthropy, power, and Nicolette, and now we are going to only talk about Nicolette. Okay. Journey, right? 16 years working together. You know, I think, yes, we were discussing who was working at the Ford Foundation when we joined, and we have been going through the. I remember when Nicolette joined the foundation. She, as she described, she was part of the human rights then, and I have been part of that team in another team, and you know, people kept talking about Nicolette, and you know, you have not met Nicolette. Oh, you need to talk to Nicolette, or I would say, agree with that. So you know, I was kind of tired about this buzz around Nicolette. She joined the foundation, and you know, I had my, you know, my doubts, my reservations about it. Going to be partners in crime. You know, we were both trained as human rights. We were both also very much committed to that Global South advocates were supposed to play. Sort of geographic diversity tokenism that means about our local realities and shared our experiences. And so we wanted our views to be heard, our narratives to dispute those hegemonic roles. Working together with Nicolette, and we organized a learning exchange between, which was actually one of my best experiences working with Ford. And that had a lot to do with what Nicolette did in that trip. And we all project that, you know, to build human rights infrastructure, knowing that what you know, back then we were only just beginning to talk about the crisis of the players in the global economic justice, and you know, noteworthy there, Nicolette became the first African woman to lead one of our international programs when she became the president. So Nicolette's stellar performance, I would say, included organizing an amazing, one of the most successful board trips here in South Africa when she was still an acting process worldwide, and in that sense, only in terms of Southern Africa current priorities, but also actively areas of work, both in terms of the what and the how. So I do expanding her influence across the globe. And as gender, racial, and ethnic, Nicolette designed and implemented a global strategy that was deeply rooted in the local realities of women of color. Related to some of the stuff that we were discussing earlier today. Not only putting them at the center of our analysis, but ensuring that their interest will drive our work. You know, that much more resources needed to flow in this direction, very much, and align in terms of the new conditions that we want to come to the global south. But, as I said, our partnership was strong, but that doesn't mean seamless. And appreciate thoughtful, candid criticism, and Nicolette was always ready to give me some of that, okay? Was I really committed to support a I don't know how many times, right? Was I paying enough attention to another key concern of Nicolette? So, for some time, when I was about to have a meeting or a call with Nicolette, I would wonder, right? Healthy partner or the implacable critic? But then I realized that with Nicolette, because she's this kind of person who has all these so many layers. Today, I do a survey here, asking for the defining feature of Nicolette. We will hear many different answers, right? Some of you would describe her as a human rights lawyer, but others would see her as a relentless feminist. Some of you will say a global human capable to be an astute operator working with governments at international fora. You may say that some of you will describe Nicolette as this restless workaholic, sorry Nicolette, I have to say, while others would refer to you as this resistance advocate, right? So you may point out that she's a persuasive preacher, a persuasive public speaker, but on the other hand, she is the kind of person who is the perfectionist that needs to ensure that everything goes as planned. So when you talk about Nicolette, you are always talking about all these different features. She's the quintessential organizational citizen, but she's also the first one to speak up against unfair organizational practices. So, when you're talking about Nicolette, you need to understand that Nicolette will bring all these perspectives. It's only through an intersectional lens that you can understand Nicolette, all right? In sum, and Nicolette, I'm not even talking about you as a dog lover or as the person with the Bombay band that wants to eat at these restaurants. No, I'm not even going there, okay? In sum, I think that the foundation, there is no doubt, is a different place because of Nicolette. And, I am tempted to say that the world out there is a different place because of her too, but I will let you be the judge of that. But there is no rush to make that assessment because we know that this is just the middle of the road for you, Nicolette, and that many other achievements are yet to come. Nicolette, it has been a rare privilege to work with you. I have learned so much from you, or maybe I should say you have taught me so much. And whatever you do next, I really hope that we continue our path together. Thank you.
I think, like Martin, many of us have been taught so much by Nicolette, including me. We're going to now take some video messages from the Ford Foundation, so over to the AV team.
I have served with dignity and pride.
Hello, everyone. I'm so sorry that I can't be with you, but I am with you in spirit as we celebrate. a remarkable, extraordinary, brilliant, indefatigable woman I admire, adore, and love. Nicolette has been someone I have turned to time and time again for counsel, wisdom, and fellowship. I can't wait to hear about what comes next for you. Thank you, dear Nicolette, and sending love from East 43rd Street in Manhattan.
Nicolette, I am so lucky to have worked closely with you since 2013 when I first began at the Ford Foundation. I've seen you do amazing work, and I've watched you gain increasing confidence as a leader across multiple roles in those years, from SPO to RD to director of GRAJI, and now to being really a global feminist. So I just want to tell you thank you, to let you know how much I love you and admire you. So thank you for your leadership and your friendship and all your contributions to Ford in the field.
Hello, everyone. I'm so sorry that I can't
It has been a blast. You've been an amazing boss, a friend, and a mentor. I've really had a great time with you. You always made sure that everybody was seen and everybody was heard. Keep being you. Love you lots and lots.
It's been a great pleasure working under your leadership. Thank you for being a mentor and a support system when I was going through hell. I can't tell you how much I'm going to miss you, but I will.
It has been a great privilege to learn from you, to be inspired by you, to grow under your leadership. I just wanted to wish you all the best. Your legacy is broad, it's deep, and it will last a long time.
I'm very sad that you are leaving. I came to Ford to work with you, and now you're on your way out. But thank you so much for your guidance, for your feminist leadership. But I wish you only the best in your future endeavors.
Hey Nicolette, I actually can't believe that I am recording this video. I just wanted to take the time to say thank you so much. Thank you so much for your leadership, and I cannot wait to see what the future looks like for you. Thank you for redefining what it means to be a leader for me.
Boss, hello boss. You will always be my boss, as I've always said. And I want to say good luck to you in your new endeavors. Blessings and love. Peace.
Hi Nicolette, we've literally known each other for the shortest time, but all the memories that we've shared together will stay in my heart for a very long time. Thank you so much for all that you have done in the sector. Thank you for doing it for Black women, and thank you for the expert power. We can't wait to see you on big stages, and all the best.
It was an honor working with you. All the best for the future, and thank you for your leadership.
One thing I can appreciate is how Nicolette brought me in as part of the Ford family, even though I was just a service provider. She's been a great inspiration, and all I want to say is good luck to your future and everything you do. Tell Cullen that I miss him and he must call me.
In Xhosa, we've got a saying, "Amake babonana, bobuya babonane." So I'm gonna see you around, just to say I wish you happiness, success, and lots of realization after Ford.
She will always be my boss. She was saying to me, "Zuzi, stop calling me boss. I'm not your boss." And I was like, "Boss, Arsene Wenger, Thierry Henry calls Arsene Wenger boss to this day. So you will always be my boss. Okay, boss, you're a boss. You will always be my boss. I stand here on behalf of many, many other colleagues from India, colleagues from New York, colleagues from West Africa, and colleagues from Latin America and New York. I want to begin by speaking about GRHI. 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had a convening in New York, in Long Island, and we were talking about how GRHI came into existence. And when we were looking at the history, in the foundation, very few officers wanted to take up the program of GRHI. And it was the sheer determination, the passion, and the commitment of Nicolette that got this program internationally, but also has now brought about a situation where we're talking about centering gender in the organization. We're talking about how we adopt feminist principles in terms of our grant making. That would never have happened without you, boss. That speaks to you, boss, and your determination and your constant fighting for this work. Boss, I want to thank you for bringing, no, it's important, for bringing issues of gender, of race, and of culture within social justice work. I think that Ford is much better off with you. And it's evident with the topics that we're discussing now, looking at anti-blackness and things like that. Again, centering the gender work, the Young Feminist Plus Fund. That stuff doesn't happen without your initial seeds, boss. So you must know that you really have sowed these seeds. I want to talk about you as a leader. I want to say, you know, one of the things that I always say to Nicolette is that when I first joined this organization, I remember I had my interview, and I was sitting in front of Vizswa and Nicolette, and I was like, oh, I'm going to have 2 black women. Oh, I'm a bit nervous about that because my past experience wasn't the best. I always say this, and I want to say this publicly. Boss, you have showed me what it is to be a leader as a black woman. You have laid the foundations, boss. You have shown what it is to pay it forward, boss. You have shown what it is to show courage and to be humble, boss. When you didn't know the answers, you were willing to admit that, boss. And you were willing to learn and make the mistakes and humble yourself and shift accordingly. I also want to say, boss, one of the things that I think I admire about your leadership is that you made people feel seen. You really made everybody feel seen. There's a reason why Babs is in love with your nephew, you know? There's a reason why she's in love with your nephew, boss. You made all of us feel seen. You made all of us feel valuable in the office. Don't cry, Daddy. You made all of us feel valuable and seen in the office. And that speaks to your leadership and your feminist principles coming in. And I think for me, it speaks to how you cannot do the social justice work without looking, as I previously said, at race, at gender and culture and those feminist principles. So we thank you, boss. From all the colleagues in India and in West Africa, they all say they admire your compassion, they admire your brilliance, your determination. There was a quote that Aparna, one of our colleagues in India, was saying that, like, you know, without a doubt, if you lift up a black woman, there's no doubt, I'm paraphrasing from Angela Davis, that you're going to uplift a whole society and a community. And you've done that. You've really done that in terms of the work that you've done, boss. We are always grateful and always thankful. You have laid the seeds for us moving forward. We now have a really amazing, just as naughty and great boss, Monica, like you. And the journey continues. Aluta continua, as you love to say, and things like that. So on behalf of all of us in GRHI, we want to say thank you. Whatever your next chapter is, blessings and love, may you continue to thrive. My message, as I always say, it's not your daddy's company. It's not your daddy's company, so please make time for rest and rest accordingly. Shane, make a placard of that so you remind her that it's not her daddy's company, okay? And just blessings and love to you, boss. But from everybody from the international team, we thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
The business Nicolette is engaged in is essentially, okay, let's let this beautiful moment happen. The business Nicolette is engaged in needs a counterpart. It needs for civil society organizations to be there to implement the work that people like Nicolette are helping to finance. Our next speaker represents that sector. It's Kajal Ramjethan Keo. She's the Africa Director of the International Commission for Jurists, and she's got a big job because she's speaking on behalf of civil society. Over to you.
So I have to stand on the podium, or you may not see me. So Dugan has already said that I have a big job this evening. I am here representing civil society organizations, NGOs, social movements, broadly in South and in Southern Africa. So I'm carrying all of you here with me today. This is one voice from one individual, but I represent all of the civil society organizations in this room and those who are not in this room. We are gathered here this evening to celebrate the career and the lifetime of philanthropy and commitment to social justice of Nicolette Naylor. I'm very pleased to say that I have known Nicolette as a colleague in the social justice sector for many years. Nikki has spent the last 20 plus years working in philanthropy as well as on promoting and advancing women's rights and social justice. In fact, I recall one of the first times that I met Nikki was when she had recently started at the Ford Foundation, and this was in the old offices in Braamfontein. And we've had a few mentions of the old office already, the humble old offices. Nicolette has now completed 16 years at Ford, which is an exceptional achievement and illustration of her commitment to supporting social justice. I was at Lawyers for Human Rights at the time, and we were both young lawyers starting out in our careers in the early days of the dawn of South Africa's democracy. We've come a long way since then, and Nicolette in particular has come a long way. I want to wish her well, and when I say I bring all of civil society along with me. We want to wish you well, Nikki, and we look forward to seeing where your career takes you next. I'm going to end this short tribute with a quote by Maya Angelou, which I feel encapsulates the spirit of Nicolette. My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style. And a small parting shot, which I'm going to promote with some self-interest, is that the ICJ is looking for a new Secretary General, so I'm just putting this out there. Thank you.
I was assaulted verbally by Shamiso Motisi, who insisted on being given an opportunity to present Nicolette with something. Where are you, Shamiso? Here he's coming. I've been told not to share my microphone, so if this... I think it's COVID stuff, so you just...
Thank you very much for affording me this opportunity. On behalf of the Zimbabwe Environmental Law Association, in fact, I was asked by staff members at Zela, which is in Zimbabwe, to present a present to Nicolette, and this is out of staff contributions. So our staff members contributed some resources and got a present for Nicolette. Through this present, Zela confirms that it is proudly one of the seeds of impacts of the work of Nicolette and the Ford Foundation, which work is definitely continuing with Vuyiswa and Justin and the team at Ford Foundation. So can I humbly ask Nikki to come forward, and I give you this present from the Zella family. I'm not very sure about Ford Foundation protocol when it comes to presents in terms of declaration or transparency and accountable. Yeah. But this is it from the Zimbabwe Environmental Law Association. I don't know whether I should disclose now or you have to open now. I really don't know. But so it's a wooden sculpture of a dolphin which swims and innovate as it goes. So that's the one that we have there. It's a wooden sculpture. I found it beautiful myself from Zimbabwe, with all the love to Nicolette Naylor. Thank you. Yeah, over to you, Mr.
Thank you so much. The man is taking it. Everybody comes from somewhere, right? And in the case of Nicolette Naylor, she comes from Patrick and Mercia Naylor. I've been privileged to know the Naylors for a long time, and they're going to talk a little bit about Nicolette, and I'm very, very happy to invite Renee and Patrick to come up and speak to us for a moment. Okay, Renee will join Patrick afterwards. It is.
Good evening to everyone here. I must thank the Ford Foundation for organizing such a wonderful celebration here tonight. And I must say, I've learned aspects about Nikki that I never heard of. You know, Nikki's quite humble. She doesn't share all the successes. So thank you for all those kind tributes. If I start off, when Nicolette was still studying at matric level, she came home one day and said, "Dad, now I know exactly what I want to do." I said, "Oh, that's good. What do you want to be?" She said, "I want to be a lawyer." I said, "Oh, that's nice, but do you realize that you need Latin as a subject to do law? And you've never done Latin at school?" She says, "Oh, well, that's a challenge she'll meet." Needless to say, she amazed us and topped her class in Latin at university level. When she graduated, her first job was with one of the largest corporate law firms in the country. And it was a much sought after job, and there were hundreds of applications, and she was chosen, and we were all so proud of her. And she joined the firm and became financially independent very quickly. She bought a car, she bought a house, and you name it. And then one day she came home and she says, "You know, Dad, this corporate law thing is not for me." I says, "What?" She says, "Yeah, I want to join the Women's Legal Center." I says, "Oh, well, that's good." And of course, she worked there and she had great passion for the work she was doing. But unfortunately, she lost her financial independence. And of course, she then looked around, and she studied, did a master's in human rights law, and she got attracted to interrights and went to London. And of course, before she went to London, she saw the salary advertised in pounds, and she thought, "Oh, that is really something else." And of course, after the first month, she said, "Dad, after I've paid the rent, I've got hardly any money left." So she was in dire financial straits, and in fact said, "Please," when she left a car behind and a house. We had to find tenants for the house, and of course the car was parked at my house. And I said, "Well, it's just a short term, you know, you'll be back, so She says, no, please sell it, I need the money. I said, no, just relax, hang on. When you come back, at least you have a car, you have a house. Not knowing that she would never come back to Cape Town after that. Because then she was offered a job with Ford Foundation. And we were so excited because it was in Johannesburg. Thought, well, now at least see something of her. Not knowing that with Ford Foundation, it's a 24/7 job. And the travel schedule was extremely hectic, to the extent that she missed so many family functions. But of course, the passion she had for her work is testament to the fact that she stayed there for 16 years. I just want to find my notes. The positive about employment at Ford Foundation, that she once again achieved financial independence. The ending of her term at Ford Foundation will place the family in a huge predicament. And one of those predicaments is that when we go onto Amazon and the message comes, sorry, this item is not shipped to South Africa. Is there an alternative address? So I must say a big thank you to the Ford Foundation for the numerous parcels that they had to receive and store, particularly during COVID, which was storage for a couple of years. A special word of thanks to Garfield, who had to put up with so much of those parcels. My wife and I had the opportunity to go on holiday in New York in about 2013, and I had the privilege of attending one of the functions at your head office. Your president, Darren Walker, was not at the function, but we did meet him after the function, and we found him hard at work in his office. And yet he was complaining about Nikki that works so hard. I says, well, you set the example. I must say your office is a truly iconic building in what is probably the best part of New York. And I understand it's now recently been refurbished, so it must be even more impressive. While in New York, we also had the privilege to attend a few performances on Broadway, thanks to the complimentary tickets from Ford Foundation. When Nicolette started work at Ford Foundation, their offices were located in Braamfontein, as you've heard earlier. And on one of my trips to Johannesburg, I went to her offices to meet her, and I must say I wasn't very impressed with the building. In fact, it can at best be described as a very tired building. I then suggested to Nikki, I says, when your lease expires, you people must look at other options. Which was a big mistake. Because in 2012, she phoned me to say, we've now made a decision to move offices, and I've been given the responsibility of managing this project. And I need your assistance. But remember, you're not allowed to charge Ford Foundation. So I was her go-to person when she and her friends needed some free construction advice. While the process was very time-consuming, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and happy to have played a part in what I think was a very successful office development. And that's, of course, a totally unbiased opinion. Tonight we've heard a lot of what the Ford Foundation does, and we hold the work that the Ford Foundation does in high esteem. particularly under the leadership of Darren Walker. We're also happy that Nicolette could have played a part in it for the past 16 years. And as her term draws to an end, we wish her and the Ford Foundation all the best in their future endeavors. Thank you.
Is this working? Good evening, everyone. For me, it's a huge honor and a privilege for me to be here tonight with you guys to celebrate my sister's legacy. Nicolette, or Nikki, as she's known to many of us, is my baby sister, my only sister. And yes, a petite woman, but with a massive vision, a phenomenal powerhouse. You don't recognize when you just meet her, but soon you do, because she is the most resilient and brave in all she does. Now, I was thinking a bit about Nikki and myself growing up as a young girl. School-going age, I think she was about 4 or 5. She was not going to allow us to put her on show, as her doting parents wanted to. They'd often say, Nikki, please talk to the aunt, show how you can talk. And she would not talk. And she'd leave us embarrassed with lots of gibberish syllables that come out of her mouth. And we were a bit concerned, when is Nikki going to talk? Well, when she started, she did not stop. So in our family, she has the nickname LS. At our dinner parties, LS for long story, because it's always a long story. Now, Nikki and I grew up and we went to school during a time of civil disobedience. You know, there were riots, there was lots of tear gas when we were going to school, and challenging authority was part of the norm. For Nikki, it was particularly hard because during her high school years, she did change schools. And she then went to, South Africans would know what this means, Model C school, which was previously a white school. And so we expected that she was going to have problems with her defiance at this new school. And it wasn't long before she was labeled by Mr. Pollock. We all have a Mr. Pollock sometime in our lives that tells us, you know, what is going to become of you? And he did ask this question. And Nicolette is a role model to me as her elder sister. And she's a role model to so many young girls defying the odds about what should become of a black woman growing up on the Cape Flats should become. Now, as a young student, university, she already showed a keen interest in gender rights and activism, and it was clear to me that she was heading for making changes on a world stage. But also during her student years, as a young student, Sibongeli's year, that was at varsity with her, she also had many boyfriends. And I was often the big sister pacifying the broken hearts as they came and went. There was one guy that stayed for a very long time, and he was there in the very early days, Ishane, my brother-in-law. Not only was he the romantic, because he was the one that got her the puppy, the cute puppy, you know how Nikki loves dogs, but he also had the strong personality to challenge her on those various topics that she's so passionate about. Because as you know, having spent many years working with her, you'd know you want to be on her side during any debate or argument. Now, I also want to take this opportunity to thank my parents, Mommy and Daddy, for always putting us first, and rearing us in probably the most difficult times in our country's history. Your commitment and unconditional love is always there. Now, some of you may have heard about me as Nikki's sister, but all of you have probably heard about my son, Cullen. Because Cullen is her godchild, and as a godmother, and Shane as his godfather, she's been exceptionally caring, she's been phenomenal, and she's been really a second mother to him. And I want to say thank you for all your support in our difficult times with Cullen and I. And then I also need to thank the Ford Foundation, in particular the IT department, where's Babalwa? Because, you've played a very important role. Cullen felt that he was part of the staff at the Ford Foundation as he attended the office on numerous occasions. I'd like to, in closing, thank the Ford Foundation. A big thank you, because in celebrating my sister's legacy, it has shown me in a very concrete way how far my industry is. I work in sport, in rugby in particular, and we are very far from narrowing the gender gap and celebrating its people and the work they do. So this is very special for me, personally. Thank you very much.
I think the best part is always hearing from someone's family. So thank you so much. Those were really lovely. And also to Nicolette's mom, it's so great that you can be here tonight. Thank you so much. And a lot of love. But this is all well and good, right? What it really is about is the work. It's about the work that gets done. And it's about the work that Nicolette has played such a key role in helping to lead and shape. We're going to watch a short video called The Seeds of Impact about the work.
My name is Nicolette Naylor. I'm the International Director for the Ford Foundation for the work on gender, race and ethnic justice. Well, I am passionate about running. I run marathons and ultra marathons, and that's my way of unwinding. And Martha, my assistant, knows when I haven't been running, I get very miserable and moody, and she's like, you should start running and exercising again. Gratitude, that would be the word that best describes my feeling right now. What would I say to 18-year-old Nicolette? Well, it's such a long time ago. My 18-year-old self, I think I would want to tell her to love herself and accept herself and to know that she's going to make lots of mistakes, and that's okay. Just be brave, and that it's okay to make big mistakes and to fail and to be a bit of a disaster and be figuring things out. Because where I was when I was 18 is probably where I was meant to be when I was 18, and just to enjoy the journey and enjoy the ride. I think I'd like to say to young girls to dream big. Don't let your dreams hold you back. That's why it's called dreams. Don't limit yourself in your dreams, and trust your instincts and trust yourself if you want to go out there. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to go out there and try to save the world and do good. If I'd listened to people, I would never have put myself in a role where I'd be a global director in a large US institution one day. Coming from the township, I would have thought that, that was too much for me. And people often tell you, know your place in society. I think young women in this country should be willing to break down those boundaries and break down those boxes that people try to put us in and say, well, you come from the Cape Flats and this is the path that you should be following because you come from the Cape Flats. There are so many joys about working at the Ford Foundation, especially over such a long period. I think the people. The Ford Foundation has 10 offices around the world. I've met some amazing people. I've learned about different cultures, different countries, different political contexts. It just opened up my whole world. And the Ford Foundation hires some pretty amazing overachievers who have great senses of humor, who are fun to be with and hang out with and travel with. So the things that brought me joy was traveling to different parts of the world with colleagues and getting to know so many people and making so many friends that I will be friends with for the rest of my life. So that's at a very personal level. I think it's really enhanced who I am and how I see the world. My superpower has been learning to let go and delegate more effectively, to let my team take the lead and empower my team, hire amazing people, trust them to do the work, and that's given me the time to relax and recharge my batteries. I think we have to practice what we preach. Social justice isn't something that's out there. It's how we live our lives and how we practice our values every day. We also have to be willing to have hard conversations with people that disagree with us. We can't just be talking in our own echo chambers all the time. And I think we have to find ways to mobilize and use our anger that's more constructive. We shouldn't get rid of the anger, but the anger can be used to come to a place of common understanding without necessarily burning everything down. We can mobilize anger towards social change and towards social good. I think my message to the team and the Ford Foundation would be to make the most of this amazing opportunity that's been given. It's a privilege to work in an institution like the Ford Foundation and to be able to give money to good causes and good projects out there. But with that comes a great responsibility. I think with money comes power, and how one navigates that power and that privilege, and being aware of the power and privilege that you hold as a staff member at the Ford Foundation is something that the team and the institution has to constantly grapple with. I think finding ways to decenter yourself. This isn't about us, it's about the people that are actually out there doing the work on the front lines, putting their lives and their bodies on the line for social justice. We are only the catalysts that are giving some resources towards those causes. So we need to decenter ourselves and be aware of our power and privilege and constantly navigate that quite carefully. I think also going back to what philanthropy is all about, working for a philanthropic institution, one needs to keep in mind that philanthropy is about the love of humanity. And it's not so much about the money, but about the love of humanity and connecting with humanity, and we often forget that. So my advice to the institution and the team would be to go back to what philanthropy is meant to be about and keep that at the center of all the work that you do. And have fun with the work. Take risks and be brave, be courageous. The work of social justice is hard. It's incremental, and one often feels like we're not making progress. And that requires courage, and it requires courage in the face of failure, and it requires courage in the face of very hard moments. And that would be my advice to civil society and the social justice sector out there. I think doing this work is hard, it's long term, and funders can often put enormous pressure on the sector to deliver results, and we want to see impact. I think funders need to understand that this is a long-term endeavor. It takes decades to dismantle inequality. It's not something that's going to happen in a 2-year cycle. And so everyone should give themselves a break to do this work incrementally, to look, and I think we need to invest more in caring for the sector. And the sector, civil society needs to push us more to be more accountable. Having resources doesn't mean that we shouldn't be accountable to the people that we support. And I'd encourage civil society to start having a different kind of conversation with philanthropy and with funders. One that tries to really navigate the power in a different way and come up with different solutions for how we can do this work better. And I would tell philanthropy and the Ford Foundation to listen more carefully to what the sector is telling us, because they're really out there doing the work. We don't have the answers. We're not the experts. The women out there putting their bodies on the line are actually the experts. And so we should practice more humility and listen more to what the needs of the sector is. And that requires the sector to be deeply authentic and honest with us about what their needs are, and when we're doing the wrong thing and we're causing harm. I think we must be careful of equating our money with having the answers. Money doesn't necessarily equal the answers, and we can make mistakes and we can cause harm. So how do we as an institution reflect on the potential we have for causing harm in the sector? When we change our minds, when we stop funding groups, we can cause harm, and we need to be able to hold up a mirror and say, this is what we're doing wrong, this is what we're doing right, this is what we really need to change. I think evolving our practice, changing our practice is what's needed in this moment in time. And for civil society and the stakeholders that work with philanthropy and philanthropy to come together and have those hard conversations that's more authentic. I think that's the path forward for everyone in this work. The last thing I'll say here is I have great faith in the teams that I've worked with in the Ford Foundation. And the Ford Foundation is a 80-year-old institution that has recalibrated and evolved and changed over time for the better, and it will continue to change. And so my message to the team is that I have faith in the work that you all do and your passion and your commitment. Keep that passion and commitment going and keep doing this work. Don't get disillusioned and don't leave. Keep doing it, because it is important work, and it's going to take a long while for us to get to where we want to be with this work.
for giving me this opportunity. Martine, whew, you had me in tears there, my fearless leader. You've been an amazing boss to me. I always say that when you have amazing bosses to guide you, Darren was my boss. Martine, I've had many bosses in the 16 years I've been at Ford. But you taught me about giving people the freedom to be who they want to be and to fly and make mistakes. And Martine would always say, so what if people make mistakes? They can make mistakes. You don't have to micromanage everyone. Because there's a micromanager in me. And when I'm anxious, it comes out, and I'll tell people in the office, this is me now trying to control things. And if it wasn't for Martine, because sometimes if you have a supervisor that's also a micromanager, it can spiral and derail a whole team. And Martine, you so epitomize not micromanaging anyone and believing in people. And Martine is the most honest, authentic person. You know, there's this polite American culture where everyone says, oh, that's great, that's great. Martine is brutally honest. He will say to you, that was kind of a disaster. Like, that kind of didn't work. But I think we learn the most from honest bosses. And bosses, a boss, I think being polite and being nice and telling me I'm right on everything, I learn nothing. And so I've learned a lot from you. Even though I've fought a lot with you and we've had lots of hard conversations, but I think it's your style of leadership has really been phenomenal. So thank you for that. And I keep saying this shouldn't be about me. And then there's like this whole day that's all about me and pictures of me and videos of me. The office made me go and do that whole thing where I had to walk up and down. And Zuzi, we were having this debate. I get the thing about we must honor people and thank people and recognize people, but we must keep not forgetting that I stand on the shoulders of all of you. Everyone in Ford stands on the shoulders of civil society, and office is as good as the work that they support. And we mustn't forget that. And it's not about one leader or one person. It's about the collective. I'm nothing without any of you. And so I just want to make that clear that when we do this work, we shouldn't be doing it because of a legacy that we want to leave behind. The legacy should just be a legacy of justice. It's been amazing having my family here, and weird, like totally weird. And having all my files come out in the way it just came out right now. I think, yeah. But I think to my partner, Shane, thank you for being there for me. You've grounded me and given me a lot of perspective. Shane, my husband, some of you know, is a medical doctor. And for him, when he has a bad day at the office, he's coming home because he was struggling to resuscitate a patient with a stab wound. Or last week, he had to deliver a baby in the surgery because there were no ambulances in Tembisa because there was protest. Me, my bad day is I'm busy working on talking points for Martine. And I'm stressing about the talking points for Darren. And so I think it gives me perspective. You go out there literally and put your body on the line and save lives. And Shane says, I don't know what, you know, in COVID, we all were at home and we could hear each other talking. And he said, I don't know what she does, but she talks about the global south, the global south, the global south. So last night he said, are they going to talk about the global south? You've let me flourish in my career. And I think Zuzi knows this, everyone knows, they call you in the office the Minister of Home Affairs. But Shane comes home from a long day at the office and he'll cook an amazing meal for me and say, I can be in my study and just work. In the last few years, I've worked across 3 time zones. And Shane puts up with it, he's supportive, and that takes a lot, the way you've supported my dreams. And I think all of us in the social justice space, we often don't give credit to our spouses. And we need to... And so all of you need to go home and thank your spouses and your family. But I think we often don't bring them into the space, and they often carry the toll of our moods and I'm not the easiest person to live with, I know. So thank you for loving me through all of this and through me being away a lot of the time. Mommy and Daddy, this is so weird that I'm speaking to my mother and father at a Ford event. Thank you for everything you've done raising me. I always say the one regret I have about my time at Ford is it's an amazing journey being at Ford. It takes you to amazing places. But you miss important events. I wasn't there at your birth, Cullen. I missed funerals sometimes. I haven't spent enough time with my mom and dad in Cape Town. Sometimes I'd only go to Cape Town once a year. So those are some of the regrets that I have. Being able to spend more time with my sister and support her. And it's amazing because my family, they understand. They've always been there for me and loved me unconditionally. And Renee, I admire you a lot. My sister, as some of you know, she's like the Springbok person, and this week she was navigating Springbok camp. She came from Nelspruit, so she's at the Springbok camp. She's sorting out my mother. She's sorting out Cullen. She's supporting me, and she's dealing with her work. And I think, Renee, you epitomize balancing family and work in terms of always keeping up with the family, being there for the family in times of need. I often just say, well, my sister's in Cape Town, she'll sort out whatever's going on. And so I do think families bear a lot of my success in the sector and in Ford has probably had a toll on the amount of time I've managed to spend with family. And that's something for all of us to reflect on, our own care and the amount of care and love we're able to give to family. So that's a message I'd like to leave in this space. There was a lot of messages on that video, so I'm not going to go any further on this, but I did want to take some time to call out my family for the support that they've given me. And to all of you, keep fighting the good fight. This work is hard. Keep doing it and work together. We need solidarity. The world has become a crazy place and we need solidarity now. So good luck on your journeys. I'll be watching from afar. And thank you I feel honored to have been part of all of your journeys and heard all of your stories. That's been amazing for me. And I look forward to continuing to hear about your journeys in a different form. Not about the Ford Foundation. And thank you for taking the time out. I always say to partners, the time you spend with Ford, the time you spend with me, is time you're not out there doing the real work. And we often, grantees, spend way too much time at donor events. And now you've spent a whole day at a donor event. But I just want to acknowledge that it takes a lot to be at events like this and not be out there fighting the good fight. So thank you to every single one of you that have come here today, and huge thanks to the office for doing this for me, and our 2 MCs like Bongi and Dugan. You've been amazing. Thank you.
Nicolette, you are great example of who we become when we set aside our fears and doubts. What you have achieved is greatness, and I am sure you're going to achieve more on your journey. We are here and we've spent this beautiful day because we love you. We love you. I want to say thank you to Vuyiswa for inviting us to play this role and to spend this day with all of you. And to say goodbye, I will hand over to my partner in crime, all the time it seems, and he will close it out. Thank you.
In 2007, I was facilitating a workshop in Braamfontein Center, and this young, short woman walked in, and she was a powerhouse. And I thought to myself, wow. And I was right, because she's wow. You're amazing, Nicolette. You've done amazing stuff. You're going to continue to do amazing stuff. You come from amazing people. We're also grateful to be part of your journey, and we wish you all the best. I have been told I have to hand over to somebody for some housekeeping, but this draws the formal proceedings to an end. Thank you all for being here. Best wishes to you on the next stage of your exciting journey. And thank you from Bongi and I for allowing us to be here.
Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, friends of the Ford Foundation, and those joining us on virtual from wherever you are in the world. On behalf of DNA Brand Architects, it's been an absolute honor to host you this evening. If you just give me a moment, I just want to make sure that we're all good on that side. Perfect.
Kitty.
All right.
Yeah, we've got an unexpected guest who
All right,
has to
lovely.
say-
Thank you. Everybody, please, a round of applause.
This is what I call a photo finish. We're just off the plane from New York. We didn't think we'd make it. You know, we were coming and they all changed the date, and then I had the tickets with 1,000,000 miles and I couldn't change them. So really happy to be here. Hi, everybody. So I am gonna say a few things. So, of course, I'm Terry McGovern. I'm the professor and a chair at Columbia School of Public Health, but I am here in my most important job in my life, which is as friend and colleague of Nicolette Naylor. I think we both joined the Ford Foundation in 2006, and from the first moment we shared an eye roll at orientation, we've been fast friends. Nikki was, as she remains, brilliant, courageous, funny, strategic. We collaborated before the Ford Foundation had an LGBT fund to make funds available. We collaborated on intellectual property funds, which had the foundation stayed in that business, we would have been in a lot better shape around vaccine equity. What we saw in our years together, that as leadership changed at the foundation, entire initiatives went by the wayside. And Nicolette was always on the front lines of trying to save the important work when the whims of the foundation changed. Nikki was always brilliant, strategic, thoughtful, and never ever afraid of pushing back against unwise leadership. As I reflect on the endless numbers of meetings with Nikki, board meetings, strategy reset, human rights meetings, HIV meetings, I'm struck by her refusal to violate her own core understanding that the foundation had to interrogate its own history of racism, gender injustice, and imperialism. Nikki led the way in highlighting the institution's own blind spots. She did so artfully, persistently. I remember when she was told by a senior staff she was not management material. This is because she was often borderline insubordinate. This was because she was questioning policies and practices that made no sense and were unjust. But then the universe does what it does ever so occasionally, and Darren acknowledged and recognized Nicolette's leadership potential, and the rest is history. What is groundbreaking history, what is truly groundbreaking history, is that a feminist woman of color was suddenly in charge of the South Africa office at the Ford Foundation, and then of the entire gender program. I can say that Nikki created a sea change at the foundation. She seized the opportunity to take on gender-based violence, structural racism, the lack of funding for brown-black feminist leadership, and the foundation structure, which was heavily imperialist, favoring New York programming over field offices. You can look around the foundation and see Nikki's imprints everywhere. What is so unique about her is her persistent unwillingness to accede to requests or directions that appear to be unfair or unjust, even when she pays a great price. And perhaps this is what a true leader is, and what we need in these times. I'd have to say that, you know, I am so excited to see what my friend does next. The world so needs her wisdom, courage, her lack of fear. All of us have been so incredibly blessed to spend time in our lives with you, Nicolette. And so I'm here all the way from New York to wish you my best. Well done, my fiery friend. Go get out there and get them. Thank you. Okay, now you can close it out. Sorry.
Thank you. I'll grab that from you. Thank you so much. Isn't that just an amazing moment? As we're about to just end, we have a special guest. And I was just about to say, tonight you could have been anywhere in the world. Literally, New York arrives, right? Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Just a couple of housekeeping. We'd love you to spend a happy hour with us and enjoy yourselves. Please make sure that you have your belongings with you when you leave the venue. Do drive safe. And to Nicolette, it's been a pleasure and an honor to package this evening for you. You truly have sowed some seeds of impact. I hope tonight was impactful and you treasure it. Thank you for your time, your presence, and your joy. Godspeed.
It has been a blast. You've been an amazing boss, a friend, and a mentor. I've really had a great time with you. You always made sure that everybody was seen and everybody was heard. Keep being you. Love you lots and lots.
It's been a great pleasure working under your leadership. Thank you for being a mentor and a support system when I was going through hell. I can't tell you how much I'm going to miss you, but I will.
It has been a blast. You've been... I've really had a great time with you. You always made sure that everybody was seen and everybody...